time. Just a real quick introduction. Probably some of you have seen me or talked to me before or heard my voice. My name is Melissa Lautenschlager. Working here at TEA as the Director of Instructional Materials and Implementation. I'm excited to be here with you all. I've had a great honor of meeting with some of the folks probably on this call as you were thinking through CRMSI and Texas Home Learning. So glad to have you here. I'm going to kick it over to Laura to introduce herself, that many of you have probably talked to, and we'll get started.
Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to meet with all of our coaches today and talk about our CRMSI initiative. I am working with Melissa and serving as the manager for the CRMSI pilot, and just excited about the work and excited to be here to support all of you. So our agenda for today, we're going to cover 4 major points. We're just going to, for a few minutes, just welcome everyone and then dive into exploring the role of the coach, looking at how coaching high quality instructional materials what it will look like in practice, and then setting you up for success and next steps. So first, we would like to thank you so much for the commitment that you've made to serve as a coach, to help grow as a leader, and to support teachers as they implement new instructional materials. So I just want to share, I know that all of you here today are serving in the capacity of a coach, and you represent 302 amazing leaders who have signed up to take on this task and help our teachers implement some of the different products that you see on the screen. We're really excited to have 302 coaches from across the state of Texas. And so next we want to find out just a little bit more about who you are and where you're from. So if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat, we'd love to know which ESC you're from, just so we can kind of see all the different places around Texas that are represented here today. We've got region 7, 10, 15, 2, 12, 4, 10, 11, 13, 5, region 20, 4, and 17. I think I may have already said those. That's a lot of regions represented today. So that's exciting. I'm really glad that we have so many people from across the state of Texas. So our next question goes out to our panelists. We'd love to know, just in a number, how many years you've been in education? So, wow, what a great representation of our experience. We've got leaders from 3 years of experience all the way to 32 years, 41 years in education. Real shout out to all of our leaders who really have dedicated a large portion or all of their careers to serving Texas school children. So thank you all so much for your service. And then our last question, would love to hear from all of you about what is exciting you about serving as a coach in this pilot in implementing products from Texas Home Learning. So what is it that excited you to want to be a coach? So love that Sandra's sharing that she is really excited about the new format and utilizing a new curriculum, helping teachers to become more proficient, always learning. Love that. So important as leaders that we embrace learning ourselves. Facilitating and helping staff reach their potential, making an impact. These are some great reasons for why we signed up to really make a difference with educators. Servant leadership, being a change maker. Thank you all so much for sharing these great responses. All right, so now we're going to dive into just really looking at what the role of our coach is. So our Crimsy coaches are really important to us, and we believe that coaching in schools and in districts really helps to maximize the talent, the energy, the content knowledge, the planning capabilities, the delivery of instruction, and the determination of our classroom teachers. The goal of our Crimsy coaches will be to develop our teachers as they implement the Texas Home Learning products and pilot units while catalyzing their growth as educators and as teacher leaders. And kind of along the same lines of really being an inspiring coach, I want us to think about some of the quotes that are shared here on the screen. And these are from famous sports coaches. And I want to hear from you of which one is your favorite. So I'll just read them out, and you could mark in the chat by letter which one really speaks to you the most and which one maybe is in most alignment with your purpose for serving as a Crimsy coach. So from Pat Riley, we have excellence is the gradual result of always striving to do better. From Bill Bowerman, we have victory is in having done your best. If you've done your best, you've won. From Roy Williams, be led by your dreams, not by your problems. And from Greg Popovich from the San Antonio Spurs, we have the measure of who we are is how we react to something that doesn't go our way. So we'll see, we're gonna see which one is the winner. So we have a lot of D's, a lot of A's, and a lot of B's so far. And it's looking like Popovich is winning, but Bill Bowerman is a close second for sure.
I think Laura might be leaning towards her San Antonio roots here.
Yep. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating in that. I think it's always important that we are inspired by the words of other leaders and other coaches and think about that as we move forward in the tough work that we do as coaches. So our objectives in serving as a Crimsy pilot coach can be summarized in 3 key areas. The first objective is our role is to support teachers in piloting high quality instructional materials. Our second is to increase our expertise in identifying effective implementation of high quality instructional materials. And our third objective is to analyze artifacts and data to determine the impact that high quality instructional materials have had in our classrooms, our schools, and our districts. Our Crimsy Spring Pilot commitments can be divided into 4 major categories. So I'm just going to preview these items with you. The commitments that you've made as a Crimsy coach include a commitment to onboarding professional learning, that you would participate alongside your teachers in the publisher specific training sessions. I know all of you have signed up for the onboarding that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And then of course, there will be ongoing sessions that will continue to provide support to teachers and to our coaches. Fidelity of implementation. We know that as coaches, you're going to be there to support our teachers in the full implementation of at least one of the Texas Home Learning units with students in the classroom this spring. Ongoing professional learning, that you will participate in the professional learning sessions that we've designed for your teachers, as well as the sessions that have been designed uniquely just for you as coaches. And then pilot feedback. Your feedback is vital to us. We are anticipating receiving feedback from a lens of a leader in not only how implementation impacted your campus or your district, but also through the lens of how your teachers have responded to their coaching and to the instructional materials.
Thanks, Laura. I'm going to jump in here and talk a little bit because I think it's important to talk about some of the shifts that happen and why and how THL can support them. So in many ways, some things that are important to know with the Texas home learning materials and why we're asking you to pilot a unit in entirety and really feel what it is like and have your students and your teachers experience the unit. So some of this is about, instead of taking lessons that might have been out of order because we resequenced them, but then really truly following the scope and sequence that was developed that supports the skill and content knowledge growing over time and seeing what that looks like through the unit instead of making some changes to the lessons or reorganizing them. And here, some things that are important about the THL materials and how this supports is we're working from teacher as the instructional materials designer to truly effectively teaching all students, meaning that the time is not spent in finding the things to teach, but instead truly making those come alive to the students in the classroom because you're confident in the design and that scope and sequence. Moving from this idea of skill building to truly knowledge building so that students have long-term learning. Things like you may have been using leveled readers, and working towards getting to a grade level can be challenging if students remain in the same reading area for a long period of time. So using materials that are focused on complex and grade level texts while providing supports that guide teachers and students to access and have success with those grade level complex texts. Moving from procedural or steps approach to things like mathematics to really balancing all of the components that are important for true understanding of math. Procedural is one component, but also the conceptual understanding and application provides for long-term use and flexibility. Really focusing in on some shifts and maybe how you've approached assessment in the past to be able to use the assessments to dive deeper and push the instruction even more. And then really when we see HQIM, just for, we love acronyms, moving from content agnostic coaching to really focusing on the high quality instructional materials like Texas home learning materials and focusing on what is it about that specific product that is unique and how do you support the coaching alongside that product that is good practice for all instruction, but critical for that content level. Things that I just want to share about trying to implement with fidelity and why we've said you're committing to the full unit is we want teachers and students to experience the unit as intended and grow over that time. So really focusing in on allowing that flexibility and encouragement of teachers to go through the lessons and not feel rushed. That's why we've given that time period and you've scoped out when that'll happen. This year allows, I know it's been a challenging year, but because we do have STAR coming up, but there are some things that are different with the STAR and the pressure from having the evaluation. It's more on allowing your teachers to really go through and encourage them to use the scope and sequence and see how the lessons develop for students over time. Really pushing that teachers, again, just sharing again that they don't need to design the lessons. They should be encouraged to use the lessons that they have and try them out and with their students and provide that feedback and really encouraging that to happen. Using the embedded assessments throughout. So some of those have daily exit tickets or concept checks and things like the science materials, and being able to use that to understand how kids are developing and looking at that growth over time. Instead of isolated skills development, really looking at how the concepts and skills are being interweaved throughout the lessons in that unit. so they're seeing the change over time. And then really focusing in and honing your coaching to be product specific, to really look at what is it about those materials that you're using and how do you support teachers in using them as effectively as they can, so that you can take strong practicing and coaching and overlay the importance of really understanding the design of the materials and using them as intended. So some things that I'll just share for you is, what does this mean for coaches and what are some of the things that you will receive? You will get some additional planning support as we go and implementation support. And that is why you'll have your own ability to work as a cohort and learn from each other and through coaching to support your work with the teachers that you are serving as well. So a couple things that we want to go into is that coaches, what does this mean for you? Coaches will receive Texas Home Learning tools to support your coaching, including observation templates that support high quality planning and implementation of the tools. So you'll be provided with some specifics depending on that content area, grade level, and product to help support you in what you can look for to then turn and debrief and talk to your teachers. Observation and coaching templates will be specific to those content areas. They're really intended to help you maximize the effects of the products and see how students and teachers are developing over time. And then understanding how a product is designed and why is really going to be critical for the success in working with your teachers and supporting them throughout the pilot, and why we want you to attend the coaching sessions so that you feel confident and prepared to have those deep conversations to push your teachers in the use of the materials. I'm just giving you a quick example of what this could look like, where you have a tool that we'll be sharing for you to use. This is really a sample, and we'll be sending out those things shortly. I'm going to turn it back over to Laura. She's going to, sorry, Laura, I'm going to do this one slide and then turn it back over to Laura. But I wanted to just go back into some of the clarity around the two types of stipends and what they entail. So I'm just taking a moment here. The baseline requirements are that we're supporting the implementation of at least one unit. And I know there are people on here doing many, and we certainly want to work with you to maximize your coaching strengths and also ensure that you have the capacity and time thinking through that's important for your work. We want you to participate in at least one content area professional learning series. And so that would be if you're going to Amplify, if you're helping to support, or Eureka. If you're supporting teachers in more than one and you want some guidance on what to attend, please let us know. We know you've signed up for things, but if you have some questions, and then all of those will be recorded and shared that you can go back and look at them. You're asked to fill out surveys. All of this is in service of improving what supports and what the materials are. So you're having a voice in what's being produced for Texas, and to influence and support more students and teachers across the state with getting great materials and the professional learning they need to be successful. And then assisting in collecting the assessments, in sending forward that data so we can learn from you, and you can take a strong analysis as the effectiveness of the products and how your students are performing over time. And then continuing to give post-pilot feedback and reflection sessions so that we know how did the pilot go overall and what can we do to better serve you. The other things to note is there are some advanced stipend requirements which are focused on learning about your coaching sessions, being able to see what you observed in classrooms and how you were coaching your teachers afterwards, so that we can, learn from you as one, but also to be able to look at what other guidance can we do and how can we be of service as people are learning to use products and effectively implement them. And then continuing to support your teachers and students as part of this by participating in those focus groups and giving the feedback that's necessary for improvement. So I'm going to turn it back over to Laura to talk through some more of coaching. I think you're on mute, Laura.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Melissa. We did have a question that asked if the handout, like the PowerPoint, would be posted as well of today's session.
We can send out both the recording and the presentation to everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, so our next section is just going to dive into the practices around coaching high quality instructional materials. And I just want to take the time to outline 4 key mindsets that I want you to be thinking about as you're starting to head into this work. The first one is to expect to experience change with your teachers and as they implement new products and new ways of teaching. I encourage you as coaches to spend time developing relationships with the teachers that you're going to be coaching, getting to know them and getting to know how they're feeling about implementing a new product or a new instructional material. Next, I would encourage you to allow teachers to try the instructional materials as they were created. Be there as a coach that's going to encourage them, even if materials pose challenges to them. Be there to help practice and support them as they navigate through implementing with fidelity. The third one is to shift our thinking from creation to internalizing. And this was something Melissa had talked about previously, that this is a big shift in the role of a teacher as being the person that is writing a lesson to being a person that is internalizing and maximizing a lesson that is already created. And so this takes a shift in how you would support a teacher from a coaching perspective. So one of the most important pieces would be helping a teacher to think through and internalize that lesson, but also opportunities for them to really practice, like to take it live and see what it would look like in action. And then the last one is to just be learning focused, that it will require on both the coach and the teacher's perspective to study the lessons, to spend time preparing, and having a commitment to high expectations and being there to see the lesson through, even when students struggle or when teachers struggle, to know that we've created an environment where it's okay to take risks and it's okay if we struggle, that we're going to support one another. And so just to kind of drill down into some examples there, I just wanted to share out what that might look like specifically as you're coaching your teachers. So, building relationships and actively listening to your teachers as they move through this change process is going to be important. I would recommend that you take some steps now before we launch to carve that time out in your schedule and to dedicate time every week that you're going to spend with the teachers that you're coaching. Support teachers as they begin to allow students to really experience cognitive dissonance. There will be some struggles that teachers may feel uncomfortable with in the beginning when they see students struggling. And I encourage you to visit classrooms often so that you can witness that struggle and be able to see how students are grappling with their learning, so that you can encourage teachers to stay the course and know that that grapple is where the greatest learning gains come from. Partner with your teachers, annotate lessons with them, discuss the content specific strategies so that they have a thought partner, and then practice with them in a risk-free environment. And then finally, very important, is to celebrate the small wins along the way. Set goals with your teachers so that you can celebrate together as you move through your pilot journey.
Thanks.
And then our last section is looking at setting you up for success.
Great. So we are actually going to jump in and talk about, again, revisiting the phases and what this looks like for you as a coach and the lens of what you'll be doing and how you'll be supporting teachers. So we're still finishing up this early planning steps, but very quickly moving into preparing for launch and then implementation and reflection. I know it's already been a long year for many people and you're looking forward to that end, but hopefully we'll have some great pieces here. You're really working on each of these phases, and we're just going to highlight some of the important aspects of each phase. So during the first phase, prioritizing, just checking that your teacher is registered for onboarding professional development. Did they sign up? Are they prepared? We'll also be able to support you in sharing out attendance and be able to share materials if someone's unable to attend so that everyone can start prepared. Confirming that your teachers have access to the digital materials by registering for the products, which I know many of you have, in continuing to make sure that they have gotten on and they know how to access them. And then really reviewing the start date and pacing plan, that their plan calendaring, that they've matched out the lessons over time for the specific unit they're using. And then for you as a coach, making sure, well, if you're here, then you've already signed up for PD. So that's one step already taken. Making sure that you know how to digitally access the products and that you can get into them as well. And I would encourage you to preview a unit so you know what your students and your teachers will be studying together. As the second phase of preparing to launch, you would see that here teachers will be attending their PD, and some of them may have started. We have some PD started last week, and we continue to have that. Saturday, we have a big Carnegie training happening, and talking to them about their experience during the PD and what was helpful. Discussing the units that they've begun to review and internalize, and asking them about what they're excited about, encouraging use of the materials with fidelity, that this is the time to try. That is the purpose of the pilot, is to encourage that freedom to try the materials and be able to fully experience that with students. Because you haven't used this before and it is different. So really encouraging them that this is that opportunity that's been provided. And then for yourself, working to attend the PD, and if you need support, we definitely can help, or something gets missed or for some reason, and we can have follow-up. We'll be recording and sending those out. And then take a little time to preview the lessons. That'll help you to understand what might be different in the classrooms when you observe, and be able to better support your teachers because you know a little bit more about those materials. For the third phase, when we jump into the pilot, which will be happening very soon for many of you, is taking the time as you meet with your teachers to discuss the lessons. What is the student work looking like? What are they seeing? What are they excited about? Encouraging, again, continue to push them. It's going to be hard as teachers that we're trying something different and they're planning different. And so they might feel this urge to make adjustments, but really taking the lesson and truly experiencing and having the freedom to do that with the encouragement from you. Practice with teachers. You may have some people that are more nervous and want to try out certain pieces because they've never done them before. Debriefing the cohort learning sessions. So we'll have people starting to attend K2 for Amplify and work with other teachers and learning hear from them, what they're learning and taking out of there. You should be attending the learning sessions. And so we'll have instructional coaching sessions for you to attend. There will be office hours, both by TEA and some from the publishers for you to ask the questions if that's important. Submitting the weekly surveys to make sure that you're fulfilling your obligation, but more importantly, giving feedback and guidance to us as well. And then submitting artifacts and assessment data as you go to be able to show what your students are learning. We want to celebrate with you as well as we see how students are progressing. The last phase is after you've finished that pilot, which seems like the end of the year is far off, but we all know it comes up very quickly. Working to make sure that your teachers are attending those focus groups, reflecting on their pilot experiences, celebrating the success for taking on a new adventure, working with their students differently, and then talking about if this is a right option for you for a full year. You'll also have the opportunity to give feedback and work with other stakeholders to make your plans for if you want to adopt for the full year. Start thinking about who should be involved in that conversation. And then of course, we want to make sure that everyone receives their stipends as a closeout to the work that we've done for this spring. Just a couple things I wanted to say is like your priority coaching action steps, making the time, having time with your teachers, and it might just be a quick thing that you're doing to build that trust, to encourage them to take on this new adventure. It's a lot in a year that has been adventurous, so really appreciation there for you and for them to take on new and try something. Make sure that you are able to get onto those products if you haven't, and I see in the chat we're talking back and forth. For sure, let us know how we can help. And then make sure that your teachers have the plan they need to map out the pilot unit. So these are some next steps that you may need to take, or you might have already crossed those off your list as you're moving forward with the work and preparing to start the unit. I'm going to jump over to discussion questions. I see a lot of things in the chat, and I'm going to do my best. Laura and I will do our best to answer some questions as we go. If we're unable to answer a question, we'll make sure that we follow up. Yeah, so things that are asking is that your teachers should be choosing the unit, but I would like to remind you that that was part of the data tracking. You probably recorded that. You can use any unit you want. We have recommended units that have some additional supports and printed materials, but you can at any time. These are free materials for the state of Texas that we've worked to get out there, and you have access to digital. So you certainly can choose a different unit, although we have done some recommending of the units that you can use. If you're unable to come to a training, we have multiple trainings. I mentioned Saturday for Carnegie, but there's a couple options. If you miss a session for some reason, we will have recording, so please don't worry, we'll be recording and making sure you have what you need. Yes, we're working on the printed materials to send them out. We're hoping to send some additional information out on our next newsletter. I would like to remind you that if you feel at all like you want to have some of it already printed and available, know those printed materials are coming. But if you're nervous for them to be there when you want to start, You certainly can print your materials at any time, and we're happy to help you think through that and know that the printed materials are going to be sent out.
There was a question, Melissa, about some of the units not being available until May or later.
That's correct. Yeah, so I think that many of you might know that we've been reviewing, and some of these units are being created specifically for Texas, and they, because of that process, they may not be available until May. The TEA is working on the printed materials that TEA is sending out with what people ordered are for the recommended units. If you're selecting to do a different unit, then you, the district or yourself, would be working to print those locally. Lauren and anybody else, if you feel like you're not getting the information you need, we'll double check our list, and we'll make sure we put you on the weekly updates. Oh, Sharon asked a great question about Eureka. 3rd and 4th grade had some longer units, and we have some guidance that we'll be sending out that is to help reduce those grade levels that were longer units. Keep the questions coming in. We want to make sure that we're able to answer it. I will share with you, we have our own Crimsy mailbox now, and you're looking at a couple people that help to answer those questions. We have Audrey, who's not on here, but it's not a just going to TEA somewhere that you can't see. You're looking at some of the people that help to respond to you here. You also can get a lot of information on the website. I would ask, if you are asking if you can be on the updates, if you would please email us at crimsy@tea.texas.gov so we can have your email address, then we can add it to that list easily. We don't want to miss out on your name and email. So if you could help us by emailing us directly, that would be wonderful. Thank you. We are doing a quick check on our end, also with publishers, to check on the access to materials. So we can provide some updates with specific districts. You can always email us again, and we can get back to you.
I just also want to add that if you do email to Crimsy mailbox that you want to be added to the list, I will also respond with the link and times of office hours that we host each week. And those are live office hours, usually with me, also sometimes with Audrey, my colleague. And they're for you to jump on and ask questions. So many of you may want to take advantage of that. We have them every Tuesday.
So Laura and I are done sharing the information, the initial information about instructional coaching. We really appreciate your time and the questions that came in today. Please reach out to us as you need, and we will be following up with the slides and video for the recording for people to have. We're going to stay on and take more questions as we go. But if not, if you're ready, I just hope you have a great day, and I'm glad to be back to some nicer Texas weather for this spring break, if that's you. So have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Please let us know if you have more questions. Oh, so the question about signing the training sessions, the publishers will be sending you an invitation, and it will include all the information you need for the links. If you filled out our form, we've sent that forward. They'll send you how to log in and how to access that training. Thank you all for coming. Have a great evening. We do have some trainings that have filled up. That shouldn't be everything. If there's a really specific one, if you'll let us know, Ms. Norris, I'll be happy to help figure that out. But trainings should not all be full. Laura and I are going to end for today. Thank you so much for attending. Please email us if you need some additional support, and we look forward to working with you. Have a great day.